It's close. All right. So, good morning, everyone. Okay, let me put this here. This is good? Can everyone hear me? Yes. All right, good. Good morning, everyone. I'm Anthony Ngo, ISV Business Development Manager with Microsoft. So that's a mouthful. But basically what I do is I work with software companies to do what they need to do, and I enable it. So, actually, when I first arrived here in Singapore, I think that was about 7 years ago. So, I think you can pick up from my accent, I'm not a local. But having arrived here, I had the big, big dreams about, I'm sure Singapore being the most high-tech country in Southeast Asia. I'd see a lot of great things and I'd see a lot of new technology here. I have not been disappointed, and I see Singapore still as the hub of Southeast Asia in terms of technology and innovation. But having said that as well, we are also as Microsoft a company where we want to push the envelope as well with everyone, our partners, and everyone else in the industry trying to push the technology. So I want this to be a bit more of an interactive talk and session as well. I don't want this to be just another lecture. So a show of hands. Who here has actually tried coding something on Kinect? No one? Okay. At least it gives me a good understanding. But who has actually seen Kinect, used it, played with it? All right, that's about 2/3 of the room. Okay, thank you. So the reason why I asked that question is I want us to be able to give this discussion and this talk something more of an exchange of information. Because when I talk about Kinect for Windows and the strategy behind it, this whole talk will be about, I won't be doing a demo because I am assuming that, I initially assumed that most of you or all of you have seen a Kinect or have tried it. So it's my fault in that sense, so apologies, I should have brought a demo. But here as well, I want to be able to talk about why Kinect works and why we brought Kinect to the market. Right? So it gives us the context of what natural user interface is all about. So if you look at me speaking here right now, what am I doing? I'm gesturing. I have facial expressions. My tone of voice changes, right? So when we're talking about natural user interface and natural gestures and communication, we're not just talking about mouse and keyboard. The first time I actually saw a PC, I was a kid. I'm sure some of you might not even know it. It's those big it's not even x86, it's a 8086 Windows XT machines. The monitor is a CRT and only black and actually green and black. It's not even black and white. So those machines were just old, and I've even had professors whose first computers, the interface was actually punch cards. So that gives you an idea of how much computers have changed. So when we talk about Microsoft's vision with Kinect, it's important to think about Kinect not just as a device itself that is interesting, but what is it in the place of the whole of IT? What is its place in the whole of IT? So if you think about it, there's a lot of talk about cloud computing, new devices, new products, and natural user interface, about Windows, how we integrate with all of that, and of course the enterprise and consumer. There's a lot of different facets of IT, right? And so Kinect is one place in terms of the natural user interface. And even for natural user interface, it's probably just a small sliver of natural user interface as well, right? So how do we look at it? Kinect for Windows, so we bring Kinect for Windows and we expect it to evolve into a lot of different scenarios and not just gaming. So who among you here have tried? Even I'm sure a few of you have tried looking at YouTube videos of Kinect for Windows and the different implementations that they've tried. What are the craziest things have you seen? Have you seen the robot that they put a Kinect on, the quadrupod robot? They put a Kinect and use it to map out a building and a room. Have you seen that? It was a project with MIT and the U.S. Defense Department where they're envisioning using it for military purposes. They stick a Kinect on a robot, and then let it run on its own. There are a lot of different uses, but also you've got the commercials. Anyone have seen a commercial with Coca-Cola? Where in a grocery store, you got you've got a game where Coca-Cola is poured down on your shadow, and you try to hold as much Coke as you can. So you can see there's two different spectrums. One is just for pure entertainment, and it gives that stickiness to the mind that, oh, this is the brand, this is what you can do with it. And on the other spectrum, you've got a lot of different industry uses as well. Even for just a proof of concept, they've tried putting a Kinect on the ground at the checkpoints and trying to use it to detect whether there's a shape of someone hiding somewhere at the bottom of a car or something, right? So they can actually use a lot of different. There's a lot of different scenarios for Kinect, and we know that interfaces evolves, right? In the 1950s, it was just a command prompt. Anyone coding on Linux here? Okay. Surprising, but okay. You can see that, everything started with command prompts. Unix servers and all that, everything was just command prompt. It evolved into the graphics user interface, and it was pioneered by Fuji Xerox, and then eventually copied by everyone else, Apple and Microsoft included. And then, of course, the touch interface. Everything is now prolific with iPads and phones now, everything with touch interfaces. And, of course, we're talking about Kinect. Having the ability to interact with your PC even at a distance, right? So the thing is, how do we take computational experience to something that's more like us? Remember that computers the biggest difference, if you think about it, is computers, the way they understand instructions from us, still has to go through very specialized machines or devices. How does a computer or how does a phone understand that you want to make a call? You still have to touch the screen, right? How does the computer know that it's supposed to turn itself on? You touch a power button to turn it on. Or, of course, on more modern machines, you just open the screen and it will turn itself on. So there are so many things that has to happen in order for us to be able to interact with our PCs and with the servers and with the computers. And now it's evolving. So the thing is, we want the interaction to be more like us, more fluid and multimodal. So I'm going to explain what multimodal is. Today's natural user interface isn't actually very natural, if you think about it. The reason why I say that is because when I'm interacting with you, do I need to touch you? I don't think so, right? Do I need to, throw something at you or what? I don't think so. When we're talking about natural user interface, it's really about talking. Gestures, a little here and there, and body language, right? So when we're envisioning computers, who is a Trekkie fan here? Star Trek fan? Oh, no one's a Star Trek fan here. Wow, amazing. For a techie school. Okay. The reason why I mentioned that is especially on the Star Trek Next Generation, that 90s series, and even on the original series, they talk to their computers. Computer, do this. Computer, do that. Right? So the computer doesn't even have to be, punch that many, screens or whatever. Sometimes you just have to talk. and the computer knows that they're talking to them, and they respond, right? So that is where we envision it to be. Natural user interface should encompass everything, not just touch or keyboards and mouse or the touch screens, but also it should include vision. It should include voice. It should include gestures and, of course, the touch and keyboard and mouse. So when we think about tomorrow's natural user interfaces, it's not just one piece that we're talking about gestures, but it is multimodal. You encompass and combine different abilities or different types of communication to achieve the interaction that you want, right? The reason why Kinect is so amazing as a game device is because you're literally not holding anything. And actually, there was a funny story I remember. Anyone heard of? I'm sure you've heard of a few stories before where the Wii actually got thrown out and hit the TV, right? Anyone ever imagine why Kinect can destroy a TV? Anyone? Anyone has heard the story of how people destroy their own TVs with a Kinect? No? The most, I would say the kind of dumb story, but then it happened. Simple and somewhat obvious. Ceiling fans. You have pulleys, right? So when you're playing tennis or volleyball, you have to smash, and they smash the pulley and it hit the TV. Bye-bye. So you can still break your TV. So my point here is interaction is multimodal, and the reason why Kinect makes sense as a gaming device is you're not actually holding anything; it's just your body. And so what happens here is you have to think about the different spectrum of I/O, depending on your posture. If you're sitting down now, it doesn't make sense to have a Kinect right in front of you because you can already touch the computer. There's no point. That's why people ask a lot of questions, especially when Kinect launched. Are you putting this in a laptop? We say we'll think about it. Because a lot of times it doesn't really make sense if it's very close already. Perhaps it will in some scenarios. I've heard of our friends from Samsung. They're launching their S4 and has gesture-based. And I'm sure it will make sense to some scenarios, but not all scenarios. Because you're so close to the phone. So if you're already very close, it will narrow down the areas in which it makes sense. But if you're far away from the device, then a Kinect type of sensor makes sense. Because it sees you from a distance. It sees your gestures from a distance. It can pick up your voice from a distance. Right? So that's where you have to think about the principles of, when you're talking about gesture computing, you're thinking of why does it make sense. I'll give you another scenario. We have very secure data centers, correct? We do not want people to go in and touch the PCs, touch the cables or whatever. So how do you secure it and still be able to interact with the machines inside? One scenario that we show off in the Microsoft offices to those who have been able to have the privilege of going there is we have an example of a data center with a glass in front. You have TVs and a Kinect sensor. What do? If you want to see what is the temperature of the machines inside, whatever, you can use your gestures from outside the data center. You can see the basic information about the data center without actually having to go in. Right? So that keeps it secure, keeps everyone outside, but you can still interact with the machines inside. Right? So it gives you that ability to, think about other scenarios where maybe security is important and interaction at a distance is important. So those are the scenarios where we're thinking of you're looking away, you're seated or whatever. There are different ways of interacting, right? And also the principles of engagement. How do you detect that someone is actually engaged to the machine? If I'm turning sideways, is it still picking up my voice? Am I still able to talk to the machine even when I'm facing away? Xbox can do that in one sense because of the arrays of microphone. I'll show you some of the technical details. But basically, tomorrow's natural user interfaces are relevant, and this is something, look at this is an illustration of a car in that sense. The car, steering wheel, pedals, right? And gear shift. And automatic, mostly you don't really need to gear shift all that much. But there are different inputs, different interfaces where it makes most sense. And it's usually very narrowed and very specific. It's best at something and worst at everything else. The steering wheel is great for steering the car, but you can't really use it for much else unless you, of course, add all the little buttons here and there, and you use the radio and whatever, and it's going to give you more distractions while you're driving and cause you more accidents. But anyway, the point is, certain devices are best at certain interactions, but worst at everything else. So that's why when we talk about the Kinect, we're not talking about an all-encompassing gesture device. We don't assume that. We assume that it's going to be useful for certain scenarios and bad at everything else, right? So I'll give you a technology overview. So what does the Kinect look like? The magic of the hardware is that, the Kinect is a device with 3 sensors. So you've got the depth sensor, an RGB camera, and an array of microphones. So anyone ever imagine why the Kinect is able to detect distance? Anyone did the research on it? No? Anyone? Okay. Anyone, I'm sure most of you have seen the laser pointers, right? Laser pointers can be used to detect distance. They use it in the military to paint whatever targets or whatever. But that same technology that you can use lasers to detect distance, the Kinect is also using the same thing. It uses a burst of laser pointers, and then it detects the distance between the 2 points. The further the distance between the 2 points, the further the object is. Right? So that's why it only needs 1 sensor for depth. But using that same technology, it's able to calculate, and it also, the problem with that technology is, if you're very far away, it is not able to detect fine details, right? Because you have to burst it out, and so you can't detect the fingers anymore. So people ask us, oh, why can't the Kinect detect fingers? Just not there yet, the technology. The amount of lasers that's pointing out is not enough yet. So yes, you can detect fingers when you're up close, but if you're too close, and there's a lot of other issues that comes into play. So there are limitations to the technology. But what it can do is do skeletal tracking, point clouds. It can cut you out and do a green screen in your background and replace it, right? It can do speech recognition. The reason why there's an array of microphones is it can do 1, noise cancellation. Number 2, it can detect where is the voice coming from what angle, right? And then audio beaming and echo cancellation. And also there's a lot of other useful features, and because it's USB, it can plug into any hardware now, and you can use whatever computing device. I'm sure if you want to be creative and try it, you can probably use a Raspberry Pi and plug in a Kinect and see how it works. I'm sure you can try. A lot of open source drivers are available also. And we're not stopping people from doing that. It's just, let's put it this way. We don't stop people. We never stop people from experimenting, right? It's just that we officially support our own SDK. That's it. All right? So, what are the limitations? So there are certain angles up and down for the Kinect. There's a width of the angle. And of course, there's a depth. Maximum closeness, maximum distance out, right? For the Kinect, actually it can detect further away. It's just that because the beams get so far apart, there's no point, it can't see anything anymore if it's too far away, right? So that's why it can have certain angles. And then the physical capabilities also, there's a viewing angle in that sense, 100 degrees out for the sensor. And usually it tracks the loudest voice. And then, of course, there's also certain degrees in which it will be able to track you, right? And then lastly, it also has the new seated mode. So when you're seated, it can detect you, that you're seated, and then it can detect the joints. One implementation, it's already 2 years old, but I'm sure you've heard some of the implementations. Here in Singapore, we have a partnership with, through the Imagine Cup. One of the companies, one of the student groups there use the Kinect to help stroke patients. They call the product TARA. I forgot what it stands for, but basically it's rehabilitation software. So what it does is there are 3 things that it actually does. One is, if you think about how do you measure the maximum movement of your joints? Anyone? Usually if you talk to doctors, they're going to use an actual protractor and measure how much you can move your joints. For Kinect, because it's tracking your joints, it can actually check the maximum angle already. And another piece of it is they're using, because they know the maximum angle upon which a patient can move, they have games to help the patient actually exercise and move and push the maximum angle further, right? So because it can detect the whole body, you can't cheat by doing it this way. You have to move your elbows, right? And then the third piece is historical tracking, right? How much has the patient improved over time, right? And all that. So it becomes a lot of different medical scenarios also you can think of for the Kinect. And of course, one of the more common things is operation room. Hands are clean already. You want to see something, use a Kinect. Gesture-based. Go through the x-rays, zoom in, zoom out, different gestures, right? So you can use a lot of different scenarios, actually. And a lot of companies are trying it out. From the US Army to, consumers and car companies, they put it in their showrooms. They tried in different things, and different products. So there are a lot of different companies trying it out in different ways in a lot of different countries, right? And these are some of the interests and implementations that we've seen so far. Education, defense a little bit, healthcare and education being the highest, retail a little bit of retail being closely linked with entertainment. And of course, you got finance. Actually, I was surprised when I saw this as well. Finance, how come, right? Basically, it's just primarily for training more than anything else. It's just to generate interest for people, and there are a lot of different ways for which you can use the Kinect, right? And the sky's the limit in the sense of what you can think of. You've got therapy, healthcare, retail, training. Even now, the latest Imagine Cup winners. Anyone saw the article recently? One of the latest Imagine Cup winners is they use it to check the posture of people of soldiers in NS. Right? In going through NS, the guys, they have to carry the rifles, they have to stand and whatever, they check the posture. And then the other scenario that was thought of, the secondary winner, the runner-up, they use, this is totally different now. They use a Raspberry Pi and they added a sensor that they put it on the ground and they can detect the fall signature of someone. So this is completely outside of Kinect. But what I'm pointing out is think out of the box. So what they did was they know that you can detect the fall signature of someone. If someone falls down, you can detect the signature of the vibrations on the ground. And so instead of flushing the toilet or someone dropping a glass or whatever, it's different. The signature of the vibrations is different. So they use that to detect. And they will put that in the houses of elderly people. So if they fall, someone in the healthcare or someone taking care of them can call and say, hey, are you okay? If no one's answering, then there's probably something wrong. So you can see that there are actually different scenarios. So what I'm saying is think out of the box. Don't just think about Kinect per se as a device, but think of natural user interface. and what do you want to do with that natural user interface. And if gestures make sense, then yes, consider Kinect. Or yes, consider someone else's device, right? It depends, right? So the vision and evolution of the possibilities is there's so many different things. So, there's depth, there's different guidelines and proximity sensors and form factor. And of course, we're talking about Kinect, the future, and I'm sure the rumors are already out that there's going to be a new Xbox coming out. And I'm not going to deny it. I'm just going to say I don't know the details. The obvious details are, you can search it on the internet. But primarily, when you're talking about Kinect, there's a lot of things that we can improve for the device itself. Improve the bandwidth, improve the sensitivity of the sensor, improve the mics and all that. There's so many things to improve. But the basic concept is still the same. It's a distance-based input device. It's not ideal for close contact. Because when you're coming close to something, there's no point in having a Kinect in front if you can just have a touchscreen, which is cheaper and easier to implement, right? So, for partnerships, I would say go to this website, kinectforwindows.com/partner. There are a lot of different partnerships involved, and on rare occasions, there are technology previews also. So go ahead, try it out, download the SDKs. And of course, I work with ISVs, independent software vendors. So there are a lot of software companies trying it out as well, especially on the ad agencies and the different guys there. So the next step is create the future of computing. So again, my name is Anthony. My contact details are there. Do send me an email and all that. So if there are no other questions, do you have any questions? Anything? If not, I think that's it. That's it for my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Now let's welcome Mr. Nicholas Fu, Head of Developer Relations from Samsung, to speak on enhancing your mobile Android applications.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming here today. A bit of a dodgy projector here, but anyway, my name is Nicholas, and together with my team, we're from the developer relations team for Samsung in Asia. It used to be the case that Samsung didn't do a lot of work in the developer space, but all that is changing, and we're ramping up all our activities where developers, and especially where the academics are concerned, the students, you guys. We've launched a couple of activities in Singapore already with the tertiary institutions, with schools like Nanyang and Singapore, and of course we are delighted to be here for iCreate. Now, I'd like to spend a brief 10 minutes or so talking about what Samsung offers in terms of developer software toolkits and what you guys can do on devices such as the S4 or the Note 2, devices which most consumers in Singapore are familiar with. And the objective here, I hope, is that you guys go away and think about what kind of apps you would like to do, whether it's with the Mershape APIs that we saw Chris talked about this morning, or even with some other ideas that you may conceive over the next couple of weeks. I'm giving a brief discussion because we are planning a bit of a workshop for you over here, which will happen either next week or in some weeks to come. I'll leave Mr. Ong, your facilitator, here to coordinate with you guys and send the communication out to you guys. But we are planning a bit of a half-day workshop so that you guys understand what exactly encompasses the Samsung suite of software tools for developers. Now, looking beyond iCreate, what are you guys creating the apps for? It's not just for this competition. Our hope is that you'll make it available for consumers. Consumers are the good folks that buy devices and therefore use your applications. And why would you develop for Android, and why would you go further and enhance your Android applications with Samsung's plugins on Android? A bit of a plug here, but Samsung is number one worldwide today in the handphone space. Instead of saying that that's great for the company, I'd say it's even better for you guys as student developers, as potential great developers in the future, because the device represents mass. And when there are more than 8 out of 10 folks who buy an Android device using a Samsung, you will have the ability to have your applications on those devices. And that is why the purpose of this slide. It is the case that developers, professional developers today, target devices which have mass market appeal in the market. And for now at least, it is Samsung. Samsung has plugins on the Android platform, so the underlying structure and framework is still very much Android, and it is so that developers use these plugins to what we call enhance the capabilities of our devices and provide a compelling, appealing functionality to end users who use your device. And I'll talk a bit about that in a little while. So what are our plugins? In the Android space, we have plugins called such as the S Pen Software Developers Kit. We've got a messaging framework called Chat On. I'll talk about that in a little while. We've got what I like to term as a sharing protocol called the AllShare SDK. In the TV space, we've got our own software developers kit on that as well. I'm not going to cover too much about that today, but I can speak a little bit about it if you guys are interested. For frequent flyer miles and things like tickets, we just launched the Wallet SDK. Excuse me. And that is also a framework that loyalty companies can use to have consumers have a bit of an electronic wallet in their devices so they don't have to store that many amount of loyalty cards. So S Pen. What is the S Pen SDK? S Pen is basically a stylus on 3 or 4 of our range of smartphones. One of them, of course, is the Note 2 over here. I think some of you may have the Note 2. I've seen some in the cafeteria earlier. But this basically is the S Pen. It is a stylus to the consumer, but to you as a developer, it represents basically a suite of 50 or more APIs that you guys can use to create really wonderful apps. So it has abilities for writing, for drawing, what we call AirView. AirView is a term that Samsung uses to market a feature of the S Pen, in that if you hover and not have any contact with the screen on the S Pen, the screen is actually initialized. You can open a file if you want to. You can hover over an image and preview it if you want to. And of course, you can even fast forward a video clip. And it is the case that the developers kit utilizes these features, and you guys can use it in your application. What kind of apps could you possibly do with the S Pen? Well, we've just finished a 3-month-long contest with Google in Taiwan, Taipei. And well, the winning prize was pretty cool. It was $25K US. But anyway, the type of apps that we saw over there, graphics. We had a couple of companies that came up with drawing applications that people could learn to draw on these applications. We've even had little, what I would call applications for kids, where it required, showing a sequence of activities, kind of like a children's storybook. It would pause at a certain bit, and the child, in order to carry on being engrossed with the story, had to draw a particular character, a simple character which the application could then identify and allow the child to carry on with the story. So that was how these developers utilized the S Pen to engage with the children over there in Taipei. And they're making it available English worldwide as well. Memos and planners, of course, if you want someone to use the S Pen to note down something in their application, you could do that. We've had developers who have integrated voice recording, video recording, as well as drawing with the S Pen. If, for example, you could take a trip to, say, China, and if you're in front of the Great Wall and you want to send a picture or video clip of it to your loved ones and say, hey, I'm at the Great Wall now, writing in your own handwriting, you could do that with the S Pen. Games, we've had a couple of folks who, for some reason, have created quite a number of fishing games. Have no idea why, but across the countries, developers are writing where games are concerned. Fishing seems to be the favorite with the S Pen, where you can actually fish for a game in kind of like a virtual reality pond and pop the fish into a little basket. In the social network space, pretty simple. Use a pen to draw, create a greeting card, write on the greeting card, send it across to someone else. Education, I've talked a little bit about that already. In the B2B space, very interesting. We had one of the winners in Taipei create a application which enabled classroom sharing, where if the entire class were equipped with, say, a Samsung tablet, you guys could draw on one application, or the lecturer could draw on an application on his tablet, and it would appear on all of your tablets within the same classroom. And if, let's say, the gentleman at the right back had a question, he could actually write on his tablet, and it would pop up on the screen. So kind of like a screen sharing meeting group facilitation application where everyone could use, and which we found very, very interesting because they made it work across televisions as well. So that's the kind of ideas that you guys could have for the S Pen. AllShare. AllShare is a framework for convergence. It allows your applications to talk to other Samsung devices as well as to the Samsung TV range. So, for instance, if you want to toss a picture at home and 10 of your friends came along and the screen is real tiny for 10 folks to look at, you could just toss it to your TV and the image would appear over there. That's what AllShare is all about. You can share videos, pictures, music in the diagram over there across from your media server, from one device to another device in the home environment, or even in a B2B environment like a hospital where doctors could potentially share images of patients across different monitors so that they could discuss and think about how to fix up that patient. So that's what the framework is about, and again, we provide the APIs for that to enable sharing between devices. So some of the use case scenarios, you could display content on a smart TV from a tablet or from a handphone, even screen share, mirroring images from different screens to other devices. And of course, in the SDK are also remote control APIs where you could potentially have the ability to write a customized remote control for a game or even the TV, and basically get the end user to throw away his remote control, because if you have a phone, the phone becomes your remote control unit already. And that is what the APIs bring to you guys. And we are looking for, again, compelling applications on this, where we have seen in Taiwan that, for instance, in where Shrek is concerned, we've created a game that basically uses an application on the phone which pops up a little joystick kind of interface for the user to use his phone to control the game on the television set. Chat on. I'm sure that many of you use Line or WhatsApp or Kakao or whatever it is that is on your device today that allows you to talk to a group of people or to other folks. Well, Chat on is Samsung's implementation of our messaging framework. It allows you guys, the API, to send, basically reach out to your contact list and send messages to folks in your contact list. And again, you could do that in an application that you create if you wanted to notify a group of folks about a particular meeting or invite like iCreate today. You could do that with Chat on. So think of it as an API that enables you to send messages, instant real-time messages to folks in the contact list and integrate it in your application. That is basically what Chat on does. So I understand from Mr. Ong, your facilitator, that the contest period lasts till July-August time frame. And if you're lacking of a Samsung device in your testing phase, well, we have a remote test lab, and that is basically a real live Samsung device that's connected via the internet across to your browser. And you could do that over at the develop.samsung.com website. So just remember, it's develop.samsung.com, and there is within the website a remote test lab where you could pick a device, and it would allow you to upload your application across to that particular device and reserve a time slot for it to enable your testing. And of course, I'll make sure that our developer evangelists who are coming down for the training bring a couple of devices so that you guys can actually have a go on those devices and test your apps if you've got some early prototype ready already. But if not, fear not, you've got this website to help you out in your coding phase. On the larger side of things, I hope that you look beyond iCreate, or rather work in conjunction with iCreate to make your apps available to all. And that is on the Samsung App Store. I don't think there are any rules in iCreate to prohibit students to upload to an app store, where you can basically put a dollar value on your apps and make it available across the world, not just Singapore, but anywhere, any part of the world that you feel that your app would make sense. We share the common revenue sharing mechanisms with our fellow, how I would say, colleagues in the app space, be it iPhone, the iOS store, or the Microsoft store, where our revenue sharing is 70-30. But for now, we're running a bit of a games promotion, where till September, you get 100% off your earnings. So Samsung will not take a single cent or dollar from you guys. And that's going to last till September, and thereafter you guys will get 90%, 80%, and it's a staggered approach all the way till 2015. Again, details on that is on the develop.samsung.com website. We've also just recently launched a S4 app challenge with that kind of price over there, 800,000. So if you like to focus your app on a particular device model like the S4, by all means, there's nothing to stop you from doing that. The prices, well, you can see for yourself, pretty much set you up where student fees in this wonderful facility and school is concerned, and maybe even more than that. But that is the price, and that is the URL. Again, if you want to take part in it, when our developer evangelists come down for the workshop, have a chat with them and perhaps talk to them about your app so that they can guide you on what makes the best app and what kind of features you could have in your app to enhance it. So look out for that training. You know, it's a half day of your time, but you will get to learn a lot from our developer evangelist team. So I hope that when Mr. Ong sends out the invite, that all of you here can sign up for that. And that's basically the short of it. Again, I've kept it really brief. It'll be much longer. We're planning a half-day workshop, so please turn up when the day comes if you intend to put your device on, put your application on Samsung for the purposes of iCreate. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. Our next speaker is Mr. Ong Chin Hua, Senior Associate Director from Computer Center, to talk on NUS Mobile Roadmap.
Hi, morning. I'm from Computer Center. My name is Chin Hua. I believe some of you all may have seen me before, all right? I take care of many student systems, from admissions to course bidding, and all the way to examinations and commencement, right? So I would have engaged student bodies and so on, and you may have seen me before. So today this likely to be the last item, so after this we have our lunch, so I will not take too long a time. The agenda today is basically to run through our mobile roadmap, right? A few years back, ComCenter, we have got into mobile initiative, and since then we have developed a few things. So we thought take this 10 minutes to share some of the apps that we have developed, so that it also gives you some ideas what are our plannings and pipelines, and also maybe give you all some ideas what you all can develop out of those apps that we have, and then those apps that we have surveyed from the students and they wanted it very much and have not been done. So you all could fill those gaps, right? Okay, we have started this initiative a few years back. Somebody predicted this within 5 years, everything matters to you will be in a device, right? That was predicted after iPhone, the first generation smartphone came out. And why such prediction? Okay, if you look at today, PC, in a few years, and mobile computing come into place in the last few years, there's much more capabilities that mobile can do, right, compared to PC. You see the two circles there. Geolocation, you're able to detect where you are, and then give you current locations that can reference to the nearest bus stop, canteens, car park, and so on. And the others, like orientation as well, where you are, where are you facing, it can provide you like a compass kind of capabilities, which orientation you are facing and where you should go in the next place, your destination that you have selected. And also visual as a very strong capability using these mobile computings. Some of you all may have heard about augmented reality, all right? How you could look at the real world and augment with objects, image, and probably information that is essential. So some of these features that is in mobile computing that has enabled such transformations in technologies. Okay, these are the quick objectives that we have when we run through the mobile initiative. We show you the two circle. It basically mentions about the capabilities that we can provide, new services that we have not done it before. Second is to enable students like you all, right, in NUS to able to develop your own apps, right? This contest has been around for 3 years, right? And I've seen many apps that is very useful. Some of them are for teaching and learning. Some of them are very much for your own productivity tools. I remember one year someone developed something, they call it Tiamla. I don't know whether that team is still here. Tiamla in Hokkien means keep quiet, right? If you are Chinese, you may know. So what does these apps do? These apps basically, you know, when you go to the classes and sometimes you forget to switch off your handphone and then you make a lot of noise and so on. So these apps that they develop for their own use allow them to able to switch off the phone at certain period of time. That means you know where is your lecture time, you know, which day, and then by presetting it, it actually automatically switch off when when your phone comes to that timing. So it's a very innovative apps that is very useful for your self-consumption and so on. So that is one of the objectives as well. That's why iCreate also come out to facilitate such a competition, to give training. Just now, we mentioned about the next things that we want to move in the technology is gesture, right? I know for the past 3 years while we are in mobile, those new batch that come in, same thing, they do not know how to develop iOS apps, Android apps, and so on. But we give training, right? So gesture, same thing. If you are interested in the technology that just now Microsoft has shared, we will conduct some basic training to let you kickstart, right? How to use gesture in innovative ways. Okay, so we probably will have some announcement on some workshop, like just now Samsung guy has mentioned, and Microsoft as well. Okay, so today, I hope you all would have known m.nus.edu.sg. There's the portals that NUS have. If you have not, do visit them. It is one stop for all our mobile apps that we have in NUS. For those apps that is running on iOS and Android, we do have a hyperlink. So you still can find in m.nus.edu.sg. So do try and take a look at what apps are there. These are some sample apps that we have done around NUS. Basically have, bring people around in NUS how to move from one place to another. They provide you a compass kind of capability, telling you that from A to B destinations, you should move in the left direction or the right direction. So that is the capability. We also based on geolocations to let you know when is the next bus near coming. Geolocation allow you to know where your location is and where is the nearest bus stop. Okay, such capability, if you think wildly, you could make a lot of apps out there. For example, the nearest bus stop, the nearest canteen, the nearest car park that is available. That's what we have done. If you are driving, you're not taking a bus. If you hit that particular car park is crowded or no space, you can actually check where is the next car park that is available, and then how many lots are still available. For the next bus, we're also hearing from the community that beside knowing the next bus coming, they also wanted to know whether the next bus coming, is it crowded or not. Okay, so that you don't have to wait for the next bus and realize that it's crowded, right? So we are working on that. But if you are interested, you can think along this idea and then can work on it. We can come in to guide you all and then produce something useful for the campus. Timetable, I hope you have realized it now that there is the timetable apps that you can download to your mobile phone, calendar. That will remind you of next class, schedule, where is the venues and so on. So there's many apps that we have done, mainly from admissions all the way to commencement. These are just some that is listed out. So do visit the portal, right? Especially like exam time as well. If you are going to exam venues, you wanted to know your exam, where's the places that is being held. And then you don't have to go to the notice board anymore to find where are you sitting, right? With the apps, you can really find out where is your sitting plans ahead of reaching the venue. So these are some of the useful apps that has been developed. Last year we have done a survey. The count means that the number of ones from the community here. Bus timing is the most. I guess a lot of students are traveling in NUS, so they want to know they can catch the right bus. Okay, so as I say, one of the feedback is that, yeah, timing is good, maybe loading as well. Whether the bus is loaded or not. So that will be the feature that you could look forward to. IVLE, I think the team has done very well. It already developed iOS and Android. So some of the feedback is like, how about other platforms? So you all think about it, and if you think that you all wanted to develop in additional platforms that pertaining to the phone that you are carrying, right? That's one idea. Okay, course. Okay, most of them I think is undergraduate here. So you all have probably one way or another need to do bidding, right? Voices also quite clear. 33 people, or rather 33 feedbacks saying that I wanted an apps that could allow me to bid for modules, right? On the move. So it's not going to replace the whole bidding systems, like, choosing a modules and then bid for it, but likely to be very simple direct apps like checking bid points, submitting your bid points, or checking what is the highest bid currently, right? So this one we have not really planned yet. Okay, so if you are interested to develop, do contact me. My team will be able to work with you, and then you all can develop it, and we can provide the data required. Okay. My ISIS is a huge system, so many features are in there. So it's allowing you to run wild with your ideas, right? Whatever feature that is in ISIS today need to be run on your laptops. So if you see some features within the ISIS portal that you think is useful for the community here, you also could develop a very simple app that, targeting at certain features. Okay, it's a lot of applications here. I'm touching on those that still empty. So, so it's, the community here may get some idea what you all can develop. live.nus.edu.sg. Some of you all may already receive an email circular about these new apps similar to Facebook, right? But it's very much constrained within NUS community, students and lecturers and so on. So it has been piloted with SOC. I think it has moved to FASS. Slowly it moved to the other faculties. And this app is just on desktop, okay, PC based. So you think that you want to develop something like Facebook for mobile, there's another ideas. Okay, so I won't touch on many. I run all the way to the augmented reality related apps. From the past few competitions, we have not seen too much apps that look at this technology, right? I have mentioned about looking through your phone, right? Providing you the real life objects, and then you augment with information. So what it means, like this apps means work lens. It allows you to use your camera to look at a foreign language, and with the API, or applications that you all develop, it could translate into another language. So that is what meant by augmented reality, right? So again, it's something that you all could think out of the box and see whether you all want to develop something like this. This is a free apps in the App Store. You can, not free apps, maybe you have to pay, okay? It's to allow you to see the star in the sky. Daytime you can't see, but with these apps, you can see anytime, right? What are the stars out there, how they label it. And you also could see stars that is in the same, because it's basically basing on your current location and your orientations. It also can tell you, say, last year or last month, this is how the star looked like. So these are examples of augmented reality apps, okay? So and some ideas for you all as well. This is very similar to what our previous speaker has mentioned about gesture computing. Moving into this technology from touch to gesture is something that is coming very strongly. So that's why this year, the third year of the competition, we are introducing another category. Okay, so as I say, training will be provided. So if you are interested, do look at it, right? It's how they detect the movement of the joints in your body, right? And interpret certain commands to tell the computer what to do. Okay, like for example, what we have done in NUS One Apps is PowerPoint presentation. Very similar to the surgery, table where the surgeon don't want to physically touch something, but they just want to swipe information. Okay, that's one example of the apps that could be used for gesture. This slide, you mentioned about Kinect. Kinect is one of the tools for gesture. There are others as well that is also up and coming. All right. Along the competition in the next few years, we also may introduce some of these devices. But this year, I think very much the training will come from the Kinect usage. And good news is that we have already set up something in our fourth floor here. If you want to take a look at the demo, how this Kinect is being used, you can send an email to cceXX@nus.edu.sg to book a time to use that room. And then along your development times and test, when you need to really test the apps that you have developed, you can use the devices there to test out your apps. So we have set up this to facilitate people who want to develop Kinect-based application. So this is my last slide. Okay, I'm between lunch, right? So any Q&A here that you all want to ask questions about these competitions, or we have our organizing committee here as well. Any questions that you want to raise, we can see whether we can answer some of the query here. Yes.
Hello. I'm graduating this summer. Can I know, may I join this competition still?
Sorry?
Can I still join this competition as I'm graduating this summer?
Graduating this semester?
Yeah.
Can. So you still can go for the prize. Last chance. Any other questions? Harry here? No? Someone? Oh, hi. Send me an email. I can't meet you today, but my colleague will meet you as well. Yeah. Okay. He has some idea what he wants to develop. So yeah, he's liaising with us on certain data and so on. So likewise, learning data, administrative students data, if you need just to facilitate your development of your apps, you can either contact Jeffrey or myself. Okay, we will try to facilitate the your applications so that you can submit a good application at the end of the competitions. Okay. If not, then it seems to be an announcement for lunch. Am I right? Yeah. So I pass to the MC today to say about the food.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Just to let you know, these kickoff sessions, okay, is recorded. So we'll be uploading up onto the NUS YouTube. So if you need the email address, the contact, or to refer back to the slides, you can go to NUS YouTube and access them. Okay. So it's time for lunch. We have catered lunch outside. So while over lunch, if you have any questions, you can still check with the speakers. You can network over lunch as well.